No, his was funnier.
We're not all comedic. Okay.
Yeah, no.
We're good?
So just leave it to the pros.
So is this recorded too? Okay, just making sure. So what are you gonna do in the meantime?
He's gonna go lay down because his head is throbbing.
Okay, don't use the word throbbing. Hey, you can't talk in this scenario. All right, so we are good.
Yeah, it's moist out here.
Okay. What are you doing? Are you?
Just sitting.
Okay, so we are good. Okay, all right, just making sure. Just making sure. All right. I thought you'd be a part of this, but it's fine.
Let the man go lay down.
All right. No, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. You know, go ahead. I just don't want the stuff dying, you know. I don't want to Jordan. You know, I don't want that to.
That'd be kind of fucking fun.
Well, is this stuff going now?
Yeah, it's all recording.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, so we're good. We're good. Okay.
All right, go lay down. And then you can come out here after the 15 minutes of your head be gone.
Yeah. As far as it's not done. Hey, Jordan, can you close the door for me, please? And then you can do whatever the hell you want. I promise.
Yeah.
After you close,
The one on the right, right?
Yeah. You know, I
there's one downstairs.
no.
The big bed?
Yeah.
My curtains are alright.
I actually thought he was gonna be part of this. Anyway.
He's actually pretty hilarious.
Yeah, no, honestly. Oh, you can't say that now because we're recording, so now.
He's
Okay.
hilarious.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready. Don't do that.
Let's take a moment and introduce ourselves. My name is Anthony, and this is Wait for Anthony, a show where you walk in with your hearts, but you stay for the moments. And yes, that is as cliche as it sounds. Today, I have a very, very welcome guest to the podcast. Someone who I've known you for what, half my life, it feels like.
Probably feels like.
Yeah, probably feels like the sassiest woman in Tennessee, a woman that has more personality than probably all the women here. Hardcore shell, but a soft inside. Miss
God.
Sarah H. Montague, hello!
Oh, hello, it's not H, but it's okay.
I know, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Thanks, okay.
How are you, Miss Montague?
I'm swell, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good as well.
Call me by my first name, too, for sure.
Which is?
Sarah.
Okay, with an H?
Of House Montague. Yes,
Okay.
with an H,
Right,
yes.
Right. There's no, it's not Sarah S-A-R-A, it's Sarah with
That's
an
all right.
H.
The H adds a personality, but...
How have you been, Miss Montague? I haven't seen you since yesterday, is what it feels like.
Well, it wasn't yesterday, but, you know, it's been good. It's been good since then. Yeah.
How's we've kind of in a crisis right now, in a pandemic of sorts. Has your life been any different since then?
Well, I mean, you know, I'm a social bird, so the fact that I haven't been able to kind of go and do the things, you know, I work out, things like that. I've been able to go to the gyms, do the things that I like to as much. So that's pretty much one of the things that it's kind of affected. Not anything too much. I mean, because I still go to work. I haven't.
You're still working like normal, like everything is okay.
Still working like normal. So.
Is there something that you miss from before all this started at all?
Well, like I said, working out. I like to do jiu-jitsu and Krav Maga. You know, kind of martial arts workout. So I used to go there every night after work, and the fact that I can't do that. Well, I mean, we just started going back last week, but still, for like 3 weeks, we weren't able to do that at all.
I'm sure, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, kind of improvised, got a group of friends together and been doing it in the garage, one of their houses. So, you know, it's different. You adjust, but you make those changes and
Good.
move forward.
Yeah, it's weird. I've probably never seen you this fit before until now. So like I said, we've known each other for a while now.
I can't even remember how long, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
It's been a little bit.
We've known each other for such a long time. And you were, you know, we started growing with our relationship. Even though you were my boss at the time, you know, that didn't really stop us from being that close friends that we were.
No, but I feel like it held a certain line or that you weren't willing to cross until I quit, because you even said that several times. And then once I quit, I feel like that was another turn that it took and kind of grew our friendship in a better way. And
you know, you work in a GameStop. A lot of people looked up to you, you know, including me. You were such a great leader, you know, working there. You've empowered and encouraged everyone at the staff. And you know, if I knew you from face value, right, from just that alone, I would have never thought, you know, your past life to be as how would I word it? Impactful, you know?
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
a good word.
made you who you are today.
Yeah, because you don't learn that, I guess, about somebody until, you know,
Right.
decide to go to that.
Right. Were there any points in your life that kind of led you to be the person that you are today?
Well, one of the things it's funny, I actually like have or know the defining moment of when I decided just to be not everything of that I am now, but just what was the turn of, I don't want to be like everybody else.
Right.
I was 16 years old, and we were going to private school. You know, so many kids seem so fake. And I remember I was sitting and waiting for my mom to pick me up. And we would sit out on underneath this patio, and all the kids would be hanging out. I was just watching people, you know, some of the kids in my class and whatnot. And I just remember thinking, I was like, I don't want to be like everybody else.
You want to stand out.
Right, I want to be my own person and I didn't want to be fake. I want to be real. It's really not that bad. Gosh, you just have a sensitive baby palate.
It's actually not that bad.
Yeah. But that was one of the things. Now, what that entitled, and I remember thinking I'm going to do whatever it takes to kind of to get to be my own individual self and not just follow the flow. It's so funny because it was that, I think next summer is when, you know, my parents divorced, my life kind of changed from the norm of that I knew it, to...
When you were 16, right? You said?
No, I was, I was 16. It was that, it was later, it was after that summer, because, of course, school was in, so that summer I went to camp for the whole last month of the summer, and I remember that was like one of the coolest things that I got to do. We just moved back from living in South Carolina, where I felt so isolated, and just, and moved back to Canada. That's where I'm from originally, by the way. But it was after that that everything kind of changed. What I thought life was completely took a turn, and I didn't know what to think. My parents divorced. My mom ended up living, you know, we lived in a house. She got us a house. We lived on our own there because she was at the guy who she was seeing at that point. I hope everything I'm saying is alright.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, but and then it was in that point where I went from this life of, like, if you knew how I grew up, it was a highly, like, super Christian,
Really?
very...
I don't really remember that.
Oh, you haven't told? I haven't told you that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. It was. I guess I just hadn't gotten into that point with you. That's weird. I haven't told you that.
Well, it doesn't ring any bells.
I got you. But yeah, it was very conservative. Couldn't do or watch much stuff. My dad was very controlling. It was a very constricted, strict, and when I say strict, I don't mean it like in a good sense. It was a very, you thought this way, and you lived this way.
There's no other way. It's either that or nothing at all.
Well, there was nothing at all. That was the way.
The producer himself.
Is your head feeling better? All right, good. God, now he's gonna hear everything. Well, I guess everybody's gonna hear everything eventually. But it went from stop it, D. But anyway, it went from, and my dad was a sociopath, all that kind of crazy stuff. I grew up in a crazy house, and then to the complete opposite of no rules and no nothing. That I guess that's where it started.
So, you mentioned you grew up with your...
Both my parents.
Both your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Did the divorce affect you at all? Did it kind of taint your way of thinking in any sense?
Well, it just changed everything completely. From the way that I thought life normally was. And not even necessarily... I wanted my parents divorced. I mean,
really?
I bet... Yeah, oh yeah. For so long, because I hated my dad. My dad's an awful person. He's, like, literally a sociopath. Like, he's crazy. He's an awful person. But now that I'm older and I go back and think on some of the things that even through his insanity, I learned my hard work from him. He used to make us go out and do some of the most stupid things, but and I mean stay up till all hours of the night because we were homeschooled for a while, and like, you know, stacking wood, just things task-wise that we weren't able to leave them until they were 100% complete.
Wow.
So like I feel like I've gotten my work ethic from him. Maybe somewhat of my determination, because even through my hate of doing that, I was like, no, I'm going to do this.
From it.
Yeah, because he was such a perfectionist and such all those things that I was like, nope, I'm going to do this. And he's going to where he's going to like let me be for it. I always just wanted him to let me be. I mean, and not just in the sense of every kid wanting their parent to kind of let them be, but I mean.
But you knew something wasn't right.
There are just things about him. So, but what?
And so, I forget. When did you have Savannah?
Like age-wise?
Yeah.
Oh, I was 24, about to be 25.
And you were basically a single parent, or
No, I was married then.
But that relationship wasn't really that. I guess.
No, it wasn't healthy, and again, it probably came from just the pattern of when I was younger as well. So, yeah.
After, we won't go too much into detail with him, but you basically raised Savannah kind of on your own
She was 3, yeah.
For the most part, right? I know you tried to do your best and raise her as best as possible. Do you feel like your experiences growing up with your family kind of changed the way you raised Savannah at all?
Oh yeah, I mean for sure. It's taught me to be more cautious about certain things. I mean, but that how you're raised as a kid. I mean, to me, if you're if you are aware of being a good parent, if you care about investing into your child, they're always going to affect. There are things that you either took away and like, I'm never going to do that again. But there's also that fine balance of like, I don't want to do that with my child, but at the same time,
you saw it from your parents and you thought, I'm not going to do that with.
Right. But then you don't go to the full opposite extreme either and be like, I'm just gonna in that area, I'm just gonna let them, do whatever.
Right.
You have to have some sort of balance, which is hard to figure out that balance sometimes. So yeah, I mean, of course. I want her to be one of the things that I wasn't as a kid, or that I feel like I want her to have, is confidence from a young age. That is super important, and her to know and have the ability to stand up for herself, no matter who she doesn't get pushed around. I want her to have the confidence to stand up for herself. What she thinks, believes in, who she is, it all kind of ties into that confidence. That's one of the biggest factors that I want to instill in her.
Well,
that I didn't have.
We're gonna take a short break here in a second, and we'll kind of go back to our lovely conversation.
I gotcha.
Is the timer on? Well, I guess we don't need a timer. Well, it doesn't really matter.
He actually did start it. If you were
paying attention. Yeah. No, but you know what I miss the most?
What?
I miss going to restaurants.
Oh yeah, no, I was going to say that at the beginning too. I actually went a couple weeks ago too. It was so nice.
You went to
Young Deli.
An actual restaurant? When was this? Why didn't
about
I go?
2 weeks ago.
Why didn't you invite me?
Well, because I went with Chris and James.
So I'm not good enough to hang out with you.
No, we had just finished doing Krav Maga in the park in Overton, and then we realized that that restaurant was open as we were headed back to my house because it's right there on the square. Live in Midtown by Lake.
What's Krav Maga?
Krav is self-defense.
MMA,
self-defense, that kind of stuff.
I got you. Are you saying I can handle myself?
No.
I'm assuming that's what you're implying.
Well, then I've done a good job.
I don't understand how we managed to stay friends as long as well, I get how, but we're so different realistically with our.
It's just age. And I've thought about that because we've talked about this before, and we kind of talked that we would probably touch on this during this selective interview. Sorry, I don't know why I wanted to address.
You just love it. Okay, yeah.
Sorry, but no, I thought about this. I've thought about it before, and then really, because I knew there was a specific question in here that you were going to ask me.
Look at you doing your homework.
Yeah. But I've come to, one of the things I've learned in life, you know, because I have friends of several different age ranges.
Right.
And I've come to find that like people find like as far as personality, is their energy that they put out into the world, you're going to come into interaction with all different kinds of people, but the ones that really match or that reflect the energy you put out, you're going to, if you're aware and if you like live awake and you pay attention to those kind of things, you're going to be able to recognize that in another person. And that has no age range. There is no age range on like the type of person, because so few people live, like so many people just pass through life and live kind of like they're just not really asleep, but you just live to exist. And I mean, as I've stated earlier, you know, I wanted to be different. I've always lived for a purpose, with intent. But sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
No. But there's a type of energy that people put out, and it like I said, it knows no age range. So I think the reason why we've stayed friends is because we're those type of people that live awake, and we recognize it, and we just have that in common. It's very hard. Very few people live like that, and it's very hard for other people to understand that. So like when somebody else looking at us be like, how are you staying, like you're saying, you know, how do you stay friends, and or you know, when you're this age and they're this age. But it doesn't really matter. When you get older, as you get older, there are some things you realize that don't really matter, and you live the way kind of you want to live, not because something is, you know, socially or somewhat accepted, or, you know, you don't let other people define.
Right.
So I really think it's because we're just similar type people. And when somebody else finds that in the type, like how we are, it's, like I said, it's very hard to find. So you cherish it, you embrace it, and you make sure that you maintain it.
Because, you know, we've, like you mentioned, our personalities are very similar. I don't think I've ever asked you this necessarily before, but there are times that you've asked me for advice before, and I always wondered why.
Because of the way you think. You think outside the box. Mm-hmm. So, and I saw that based on some of the conversations we'd had. You don't just give an answer based off of, well, typically if you do this, or if this is going on, you should do this. You try to see it from several different angles, or from I guess the situation for it solely for that situation, not like, oh, well, it's similar to this or this or this. And so I just respected your way of thinking. And so when I finally decided to, get deeper with our conversations and the things that we talked about, and one of them, being me asking for advice, because you helped clear my head. And you helped see it from sometimes the perspective that I couldn't, because my head gets so clouded and it gets so noisy sometimes. So you just help bring it down.
Well, thank you. It's funny because you've been through a lot more than I have, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning from my experiences now.
Right.
You've always asked, for the most part, you've asked me for advice, but it's weird because now I'm starting to learn from you, because I look up to you. You even though you were asking me, in a way, you're teaching me.
I guess because I'm bringing certain experiences too,
right,
that you hadn't thought of.
Yeah,
or that you hadn't experienced.
Right, myself, right.
True.
Right.
So in turn, when you needed, I guess we're thinking like, oh, I know, maybe she's...
Right. And I know recently, like I said, we've been best friends for so long, but I guess to kind of close it all together, how do I say without making it sound mushy? Or mushy? I don't know. Mushy.
Okay.
I wanted to thank you. I wanted to thank you for literally everything that you've done. Thank you for even being a part of this, for doing this with me.
I'm honored that you asked me.
This
For real.
was kind of a first step, of me wanting to do something, and I'm happy to do this with you.
I'm happy you thought of me to do it, as the first kind of the guinea pig of the situation. But I'm happy too, because I like your innovative. If you want to try something, I believe you should go for it.
Thank you, Sarah. It's been a hell of a year. Everyone is going through so much right now, but I feel like I kind of wanted to spread a little bit more positivity out there, and I feel like you're such a wonderful person because of what you've been through.
Well, and see, you say that again, but one of the things I think too, it's not just necessarily what I've been through, although that does play a large factor, but it's the choices that you have to make a certain choice that either you're going to let what has happened to you in your life define you,
Dictate, yeah.
or you make a choice that, hey, I don't want this anymore. I guess it does define you, but it defines you either in a negative way to where you stay a victim,
Right.
or you let it define you as like, no, I'm not going to allow this, or I decide I'm not going to do it. But then it takes the work.
Yeah, you take two people with the exact same scenarios, right? And you came out on a positive side because of you, because of who you are.
Right. But it definitely has a lot to do with the people who you decide to let in your life too. That, I believe, is a truly big factor. If you don't have the right kind of people around you, and you're trying to be or model yourself after something, you are who you decide to be around, and you have to make the choice of who you're going to be around, and that's a hard thing to do. Letting people in, and then learning when you have to let go of them too, or kick people out.
Do you think we would have been friends if you had a perfect life?
Well, it depends on what you kind of define as a perfect life. I don't know. Would we have been friends if you had a perfect life?
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm a firm believer in, perfect really isn't perfect.
Yeah.
It's what you try to portray to people on the outside. So it's just a cover.
Yeah. Because I mean, in a sense, with your experiences, you are who you are. Because I don't think so. I think if you had a perfect life, I don't think we would have connected as well as we did. And kind of in retrospect, because of who you are today, kind of made me. It helped with my mindset as well, to develop, what kind of person I am. So.
Cool.
Well.
And there you got loud again.
Yeah, sorry, there's a certain mic check that we can't really go past. This is a horrible idea, by the way, the coffee. It was absolutely horrible.
Oh, and I didn't even have my cup the whole time. I had Goku Black.
Oh, are you sure you know exactly who that is now?
Yeah, I made sure I found out before.
Well, thank you, Miss Sarah. I really do appreciate it. I'm so glad that you were the first person to do this with me. It kind of tears me up a little bit because I've always wanted to do something like this.
Well,
I'm glad that I had to share it with you.
I think you did it very well. It's that guy back there that makes it all possible.
Yeah, I was gonna. Can I mention you by name? Is that okay? Mr. Producer himself, Mr. Jordan Moore. What happened?
Nothing.
You said something? You said something under your breath.
I was going to say JJ, but it's not. I was waiting for you to give his last name initial, so.
We can call him JJ if you want. Jordan, thank you so much, man. For did you just say yes, sir?
You did.
Yes, sir.
You don't have to be so formal
Well,
about
it's
it.
out of slight respect. So.
You made this possible as well. There's a man behind every camera, or I guess a girl. It doesn't. Anyway.
Behind every camera is a person.
It's a person. That's the right way to say it. Thank you so much, Mr. Jordan. Would you like to say something to the millions of fans out there?
And billions. Yeah. Sorry. It's The Rock.
You can't have stage fright if you're not in front of the camera. All right, so that's it.
Only we will know that too. What just happened there?
Thank you for watching Wait for Anthony, and any final thoughts, any closing opinions?
Let's just wait and see.
All right. Thank you guys. Take care. Okay, we're good to go. You missed your cue, by the way.
What?
I gave you an opportunity. Are you still recording? You are? Okay, good. You were gonna ask me who I wanted to have next. You remember that? Oh, yeah.
Oh,
No,
and
it's
by
not-
the way,
no, it's fine,
Anthony.
it's fine, forget
no,
about it.
no, no.
Forget about
Well,
it.
you know what? You got to remind me of these things because we got into talking off on the squirrel and the rabbit
I
hole.
wrote it down for you.
Well, where is it?
And I sent it to you. It was on
Do I
the
have
template.
my phone?
Well, it's not my phone.
Sarah, don't have your phone out here. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so Anthony. I'm sorry, Anthony. Who would you like to have next on your show? Who would be the next contender, the runner-up, I want to say some fancy word, but I have several of
vocabulary's
them.
only so far,
No,
so-
I have several of them, but they don't really apply in this situation. So
I have an idea. I have
Tell me.
someone. I think it's impossible for this person to get on this show, but I think it would create definitely a form. It's not you, Jordan. Is that what you think? It is. You're just okay. Just making sure.
will you stop?
Well, he was looking at me as if like,
judging his face.
I don't know.
I know, right?
You should.
But yeah, I have someone in mind. I think it's gonna be.
All right. So why are you going to ask me to cue you and to ask about it if you're
It's
not
like
going to say?
it's like a cliffhanger. Kind
Oh,
of thing.
cliffhanger.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Oh, there's somebody else? And cut. Alright. Okay. Alright, continue.
Why are you the way you are?
In the great words of Michael Scott. Because it brings joy to your life. Do we have to go into the story?
I think. I mean, we have 15 minutes to spare, so.
Have to story about your you texting ticket? Your texting ticket?
No,
Okay.
we'll just keep that
Okay.
underneath the belt. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Alright, that's it. Yeah, you're good. You can cut it now. Jesus Christ. It's all sunny and bright outside.